Yes! Hand it over! I can set you free, mate. My freedom was forfeit long ago.
Captain Jack Sparrow is back in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. I'm Richard Roeper. Sitting in for Roger this week is the film critic for New York Magazine and CBS Sunday Morning, David Edelstein. Good to see you again, David.
Thank you, Richard. Let's do it.
All right, it's pirate time. Now, if Errol Flynn and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. could see the ridiculously entertaining action sequences in the third Pirates movie, they'd drop their swords in amazement. The sets, the costumes, the stunts, and the special effects are beyond what anyone could have dreamed about during the golden age of the pirate movie. Now, at 2 hours and 48 minutes, this is one long, convoluted, and intermittently inexplicable pirate epic, but it's definitely worth seeing for the jaw-dropping action, the doses of irreverent humor, and, of course, the star power.
You're mad.
Thank goodness for that, because if I wasn't, it'd probably never work. And that was without even a single drop of rum.
After Orlando Bloom's Will, Keira Knightley's Elizabeth, and Geoffrey Rush's Barbossa rescue Captain Jack from Davy Jones's locker, they team up to do battle with the evil Lord Cutler Beckett and the East India Company, which has gained control of the Flying Dutchman ship and is wiping out the pirate population.
Elizabeth, will you marry me?
I don't think now's the best time.
Now may be the only time.
I found this to be the funniest film of the trilogy. Here, Captain Jack and some of his mateys cheerfully acknowledge that when it comes to naming things, pirates are often creatively challenged.
You know, for all that pirates are clever cogs, we are an unimaginative lot when it comes to naming things.
Fine.
I once sailed with a geezer, lost both of his arms and part of his eye.
What'd you call him?
Larry.
At one point, Jack Sparrow isn't sure if his old friends are real or hallucinations. He's also not entirely sure they're really his friends anyway.
Aye, Jack, the world needs you back something fierce.
And you need a crew.
Why should I sail with any of you? 4 of you have tried to kill me in the past. 1 of you succeeded.
We're really here for the explosions and the swordplay and the crackling one-liners. We're here to watch Captain Jack Sparrow do his thing. We're here to see if Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann will find everlasting love. We're here for the pirate jokes and the fights. On those counts, At World's End delivers. So for me, David, it's a thumbs up.
Well, this is a good start because I'm wondering, with all due respect, if you saw the movie on crack. Because you were clearly having a very good time.
I had a great time.
It didn't have anything to do with the movie.
Sober as a judge, my friend. I had a great time.
You mentioned Errol Flynn before. I think Errol Flynn and Michael Curtiz and all the people from those old movies would go, oh my God, these people can't tell a story. Now, of course, I understood it all. Not.
Well, all right. Yeah.
And yeah, really, I turned to my 9-year-old and said, do you know what's going on? She said, no, do you? And I was like, no.
Well, now we know that you have an advisory board of adolescents, and that's fine.
Listen,
you know.
exactly. She's actually more in tune with some of these movies than I am, old cynic that I am.
Well, David, I think all 3 Pirates movies, and now you have this trilogy that I guess total would be, I don't know, what, 8 hours or something like that.
About as long as Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, almost, and, you know, and it's kind of a mess. I mean, yeah, there are times when I had no idea why some of these people now seem to be good guys and they used to be bad guys, or which evil British India trading soldier guy is a good guy or a bad guy. But I mean, really, if you're going to the Pirates trilogy for story, that's insane. It's all about the action and the excitement and the relationships, and I think on those counts it delivers.
But Richard, there can't be real thrills without coherence.
I beg to differ. I think there can be, and I think when you've got those 2 ships doing battle and, you know, the swirling storm going on and pirates are flying all over the place, I mean, you kind of know at that point who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. It doesn't really matter what took them to that point. Yeah, I think you do. Well, I do.
No, because Johnny Depp goes onto one ship and then he goes back to one ship, and
we know what we're supposed to root
and
for here.
Orlando Bloom, is he a traitor to them, or is he a good guy, or is it all a little scheme they've cooked up?
That's great. All those depths that they have going.
Yeah,
on. And then you got the Keith Richards cameo, which is a lot of fun. And you know, one other thing we should mention, for fans of the trilogy, stick around through the credits, which are longer than some movies, but at the very, 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 very end of the credits, you get a little tease telling us what might happen if there's going to be a Pirates 4.
Our next movie, Bug, is being sold as a horror movie, and it's horrifying, but don't expect gooey fun with the babe from Kiss the Girls. It's based on a play by Steppenwolf Theater's Tracy Letts about two unstable people who build a sanctuary and then bug out, literally. Ashley Judd plays a lonely divorcee in a rustic Oklahoma motel. Her phone rings night and day, but no one speaks. It could be her violent ex, played by Harry Connick Jr., or someone else might be out there. She meets a soft-spoken fellow, played by Michael Shannon, who says he's an Iraq war vet. He muses that people think he's strange. An understatement.
Sometimes, though, when you're lying in bed at night, you can feel it. All the machines, people working their machines, the works, humming. I don't like to go on about it because it freaks people out.
Agnes thinks that sounds crazy, but she likes his intensity. After their lovemaking, Peter sees something.
It's like
Show me.
Oh, God, did you put something on that?
Oh, my God. You think an aphid did that?
I know what did it to me.
Aphids can't bite.
You know a lot about aphids?
No.
Do you know anything about aphids?
No.
We do.
What's certain is, beat by beat, Bug is gripping. It has that feverish compression of great theater, but director William Friedkin gets inside it, so it's never stagey. Shannon is scary but pitiful, and Ashley Judd might be the most unsung great actress in American movies. She makes you understand how she could welcome the dementia that envelops her. I thought of Abu Ghraib poster girl Lindy England, another woman sucked into a controlling boyfriend's universe. Not for every taste, but my thumbs up.
Well, you're 0 for 2 so far, my friend. I hated this movie. I think it probably might have worked as a stage production. I think it has that kind of, you know, hyper-real feel to it. But I think as a film, one of the problems I had with it, Dave, and I have many problems, is that it starts off being so realistic, and we get scenes outside of the hotel, in the bar, and we learn about the friends and the ex-con, ex-husband or current husband or whatever, the Harry Connick Jr. character, and they all intrude on this. And then all of a sudden we go off on this crazy journey with these two people that I didn't believe for 1 second that character played by Ashley Judd would fall for this madness. And then what also drove me crazy is the film wants to have it both ways, because we get the ringing phones, we get the sounds of the helicopters. Now, is that in the minds of the characters, or is there really some sort of craziness going on? So I think it cheats on all on every level.
Consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds.
Yeah, and good films sometimes, too. And, of course, you know, the one thing I'll give credit to Ashley Judd, she always has her Mr. Skin moment, because late in the film, they find an excuse to get her naked on top of everything else. But I just found this thing to be irritating and annoying and over the top, and I felt like I was being preached to throughout.
I will say it is certainly over the top, but isn't it exciting to see something where you could go, well, maybe they're right, maybe there's something in the air, or maybe they're delusional paranoiacs.
Yeah, well, either way, they were irritating. Later in the show, Katherine Heigl gets knocked up, and next, you want more Johnny Depp? I've got exactly what you're looking for in the Thumbs Up video segment.
Just peachy.
Looking at movies new on DVD, all getting a big thumbs up: Apocalypto, Flags of Our Fathers, and Letters from Iwo Jima. Now, Captain Jack Sparrow has become Johnny Depp's most recognizable character, but he's been doing great work in virtually every genre for 2 decades. So for my video pick this week, I put together a virtual box set of Johnny Depp films. The 21 Jump Street Johnny starred in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. He gave one of his most daring performances in the cult classic Ed Wood. For one of Depp's most underappreciated performances, check out Don Juan DeMarco. And perhaps my 2 favorite Johnny Depp films are Donnie Brasco with Al Pacino and the very underrated Blow.
I underrated it too.
There he goes again.
Instead of DVD, I want to talk about a service called IFC, the Independent Film Channel, in theaters, although it's on TV, confusingly. In March, we gave thumbs up to the IRA drama The Wind That Shakes the Barley. And what percent of you could see it in the theaters? 10? Well, it was playing simultaneously on many cable systems for $6. I'd rather you go to theaters, even if popcorn costs too much and some jackass's cell phone goes off. But this is the best way for many movie lovers to see minimally distributed films at the same time as we big city swells.
Great recommendation. So IFC On Demand is available on digital cable nationwide, and all of the Johnny Depp films I mentioned are available right now. Okay, coming up next, the makers of the 40-Year-Old Virgin go the opposite route and get Katherine Heigl knocked up. But first, here's a look at what's coming up on next week's show.
Welcome to...
Jeez, could you make it any more complicated?
There are a couple of characters here I'm not too sure about.
Okay, looking at movies now in theaters, I gave Shrek the Third a big thumbs down. It did huge box office because parents have to take their kids somewhere. I also gave thumbs down to the Wendell Baker Story, but the movie to look for is the film called Once. I gave it a giant thumbs up. It's a terrific movie. Okay, next movie. If Old School and She's Having a Baby sprinted at one another at full speed and collided in violently comedic sexual fashion, the result would be Knocked Up. It opens next week, and this is an early review. Judd Apatow's follow-up to The 40-Year-Old Virgin is another winner. This is half goofball guy movie and half sentimental chick flick, and it works on both levels, even if it does overstay its welcome. The semi-portly, completely average-looking, and very funny Seth Rogen plays Ben, a 25-year-old slacker. Katherine Heigl from Grey's Anatomy is Allison. After a one-night stand, she's pregnant.
I know my job is to just support you in whatever it is you want to do, and I'm in, you know, so whatever you want to do, I'm going to do, you know, I'm on board. Yay!
Leslie Mann is Allison's older sister, Debbie. She's got an acid tongue and major doubts about Ben's parental potential.
How old is he?
23.
Looks 33. Can barely get in and out of that little house. Imagine how much bigger he's gonna get. That means he has bad genes. Your kid is gonna be overweight.
Paul Rudd is comedic gold as usual, playing Debbie's husband, Pete. He provides Ben with some unappetizing glimpses into the life of a married man.
Marriage is like that show Everybody Loves Raymond, but it's not funny. All the problems are the same, but it's, you know, instead of all the funny, pithy dialogue, everybody's just really pissed off and tense. Marriage is like an unfunny, tense version of Everybody Loves Raymond, but it doesn't last 22 minutes. It lasts forever.
As Allison and Ben enter into a friendship and partnership that could turn into romance, Knocked Up walks the tightrope between a relationship-centric comedy and a dopey, funny romp.
I don't know who Doc Brown is. What are you talking about?
Doc Brown is the guy who's Christopher Lloyd. He invented the DeLorean, the time machine. He's the one who made the time machine.
It's the time machine. Everyone has the time machine image.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
There's some casual meandering midway through the film when both the Ben-Allison relationship and the Pete-Debbie marriage hit rough patches. At times, things drag a little bit. The Wedding Crashers' old school crowd might grow restless during the final act, which features a lot of Here Comes the Baby stuff. Still, Knocked Up earns its sentimental moments. These people are very funny, but also likable and real. I'd like to revisit them again in Knocked Up Again. So that's a big thumbs up for me, David.
Oh, I see. So you're not doing anything for population control. Well, big thumbs up from me, too. At least the first 100 minutes. The movie is about 2:15.
A little flabby, so to speak.
So every line in this movie scores. It's so rare. You know, Judd Apatow, I don't know if you were a fan of Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, sure.
The man has the ear for freak speak and geek speak. He knows how to, you know, make you laugh at these blowhards and these druggies, and then he knows how to take you into the world of, you know, married couples at each other's throats. It gets so inside these people who are kind of dumb and make terrible decisions throughout, and yet you look at them and you think, the poetry in their ridiculous souls, you know, how much
I mean, there really is some poetry in the dialogue, and there are also these levels of pop culture inside jokes. I mean, Ryan Seacrest has a lot, you know, give the guy credit, he makes a lot of fun of himself. There are references, I mean, this movie is so of the moment. These guys are talking about seeing Spider-Man 3 at the multiplex. I mean, it's very aware of itself without being too cute and inside jokey. I mean, it seems like these guys really would talk this way about what's going on in the world right now.
I should say, this is a very post Roe v. Wade era movie, which is not a criticism or an endorsement. It just, abortion is raised, it's not an issue. She would rather end up with somebody completely unsuitable, theoretically, and have this baby. And speaking of unsuitable, this is another movie in which a tall drink-of-water blonde ends up with a pudgy, dysfunctional, druggy dweeb. And hey, that's my tribe. I think that's a great thing. I wish there were more of it.
You know, it goes all the way back to the, you know, the Marx Brothers, and certainly like the Bill Murray character in movies like Meatballs. These guys always get these incredible women, and you know, hey, well, we're all for that.
Try the fat babe and the gorgeous guy. It's just, it's not going to happen. Now here's a pretty obscure movie that put me over the moon, and I do do just about anything to help it reach a wider audience. It's called Iceberg, which in English means the iceberg. It's a comedy from Belgium that's like Close Encounters of the Third Kind with wackos. The heroine, played by Fiona Gordon, isn't fixated on aliens, but with getting to the North Pole. She gets accidentally locked overnight in a walk-in freezer in her fast food restaurant and comes out with no patience for her suburban rinky-tink house and zombie husband, played by Dominique Abel. She has this image in her mind of a twin-peaked iceberg. If you're unfamiliar with the traditions of European clowning, Iceberg might strike you as some kind of avant-garde art picture. Believe me, Cro-Magnons were laughing at stuff like this, although not as fabulous. Fiona Gordon, who co-directed the picture, looks a little like Carol Burnett stretched out, and she has the same gung-ho foolishness. Richard, this silly little movie, Iceberg, I'm just giving it thumbs up, up, and away.
I'm right with you on this, David. I mean, first of all, I think the film's beautiful to look at. You know, the use of colors and the backdrops and things you talked about. And you're right. I mean, there's just comedic genius on display here. And even sometimes some of the supporting players or background extras, they just have perfect movements in sync with what's going on center stage, so to speak. So I mean, it's funny and it's touching and it's weird and it's compelling and I think really gorgeous to look at as well.
You're looking at a magnificently choreographed.
That's so true. In fact,
you
know, looking at some of those scenes, I thought, oh my God, how many times did it take them to get this just right? Because you know, you can tell they're done in, you know, some of the shots are continuous shots, so it's like, wow, this is just amazing stuff.
It's great. All right, coming up next, a slasher movie that's been getting great reviews elsewhere, but it's the thumbs that really matter. We'll tell you which way they point when we come back.
Our next movie has been getting some terrific reviews. I have no idea why, because it's a loud, bloody pile of trash. Severance seems to be posing as some kind of ironic, darkly funny takeoff on slasher movies, but I think it's just mostly a slasher movie. A group of employees who work for an international weapons supply company gathers for a weekend retreat in a remote forest in Hungary. Apparently, they're all complete idiots because it's obvious they're not in a luxury retreat.
Someone in the woods.
We need to get out of here.
One of the most annoying scores of the year, some ugly violence and dark jokes that fall flat. Severance had me on the edge of my seat for one reason. I couldn't wait to get the hell out of the screening room. That would be thumbs down.
I think so. Gosh, I hate to make a case for this movie, but let me elevate the discourse a little bit. I've been interested in this genre, torture porn. You know, people getting entertained by watching people torture.
Right. And Hostel and all these movies.
But it's funny how it dovetails with this sort of anti-American tendency, this portrayal as Americans and their English allies as sort of over-entitled and ignorant of other cultures. And this is a movie in which the payback is given to these terribly English idiots, you know, for what this company has done over the years. And I find that that gave it a little bit of extra richness. Now look, it's not worth doing, okay? But it does, I do think the deaths are creative. You care about the characters,
well,
unlike the Friday the 13th movie.
I don't know, David. I think, you know, first of all, the anti-American, anti-British stuff is tiresome and lazy and easy in movies like this. And what you're seeing is just one slasher killing after another, which we've seen in a million other movies. The guy in the big boots and the heavy coat that just can kill, you know, the...
Well, I feel funny. I do feel
way.
funny, Richard, about giving this a thumbs up. May I perhaps give it a thumbs off?
Oh, God! Ah, he's doing prop humor! Now that's frightening. Okay, we'll be back to recap this week's show right after this.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is sponsored by...
Man has evolved to the point where he no longer needs to stand in line for tickets. The MovieTickets.card, available only at MovieTickets.com.
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show. We split on Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. We split again on Bugged. 2 thumbs up, though, for Knocked Up. It opens next week. 2 big thumbs up for Iceberg. And we split on Severance. Now, for Roger Ebert's take on Bug, go to our website at themoviestv.com. EberitRoeper.com. And David, thank you. As always, interesting.
I know Roger's
now I know what it's like to work with
Where
Gallagher. You know, it's like you went from Jean-Paul Sartre to Gallagher.
Hey, I'm coming back next week.
Yes, you are. You think. That's it for this week's show. Until next week, the balcony is closed.
Mom, Dad, should I marry Chloe, Liz, or Jill?
New brake service options from Meineke. Life doesn't always give you options. Meineke does.
You don't feel guilty? Nope.
It's the extra creamy ice cream you don't have to feel guilty about. Double churn from Breyers.
If you think a prune is a prune, you haven't tried new Sunsweet Ones.
How do you like the individual wrappers?
It's not dry at all. They're delicious.
New Sunsweet Ones. Bite for bite, even better than fresh fruit.
When I needed to borrow cash, I made the cash call and got money wired right into my checking account. So do what I did and call 877-860-CASH.